Hello. Today it's the 20th of November and I'm going to plant a Loganberry. Loganberries are a hybrid of blackberries and raspberries. Apparently they accidentally hybridized themselves in the garden of a horticulturalist in Santa Cruz, California in 1881. His name was James Harvey Logan, and in a modest sort of chap that he presumably was, he named the berry after himself as the Loganberry. I became interested in these when my wife's sister-in-law was talking about them. She used to run a fruit farm and thought that Loganberries were the nicest berries she'd ever tasted. At the same time, I was wondering what to do with this bed here. But before I explain why I was thinking about that, let me explain a little bit about growing Loganberries. I've never grown a Loganberry plant before, but I understand that they are in habit very similar to blackberries, and so I'm basically using the same principles. Now, if I was planting blackberry here now, new growth would come next year, and I would put that all off in one direction, tie it in to a frame or a trellis. Then the year after that, these canes would fruit. The thing about blackberries and also Loganberries is that they're floricane, like summer raspberries, which means that they fruit on last year's wood. So while these were fruiting, new canes would grow and they would be tied off in this direction. When these had finished fruiting, you would cut them away, and then on the following year these would fruit while new canes grew, and you put them off in that direction, so you were alternating which side the fruiting canes were and which side the growing canes were that would be fruiting on the following year, which is what made me think about this frame. I once used this bed for asparagus, then I turned it into a raised bed and have used it for cucumbers and squashes. But I haven't got any particular plans for it next year, and it suddenly occurred to me when we were talking about Loganberries that I've got these frames along either side, and so my cunning plan is to plant the Loganberry here, run the first year's growth down one side on these poles, run the second year's growth down this side while this side is fruiting, and then, as I just explained, alternate between sides of the bed. Will it work? No idea. Okay, well, the Loganberry arrived last night. It's a bare root plant, which means that it's been growing in the ground, and now we're in the dormant season when there isn't much growth between November and March. It's been taken out of the ground and sent by courier, so it was in a cardboard box when it arrived, although admittedly the roots were surrounded by earth in a plastic bag to try to keep them moist. What I did last night when it arrived was immediately get it out of the box. It was raining dreadfully yesterday, and I've left it in a pot of rainwater overnight. They usually say with bare root plants to soak the roots for 2 hours before use. I'm not sure what people say about leaving it overnight, but I've left them overnight without any harm. I think what would cause harm is if you let the roots dry out. So I'm obviously going to plant these now, and they've had a nice chance to take up water. If you can't plant them immediately, then you can find a bit of moist earth somewhere and plant them in. The important thing to remember is don't let the roots dry out. Okay, well, here's my place where I'm going to plant. The depth to plant them isn't too hard to find with these. You're really just looking for where the roots were planted in the ground before it was dug up, so it's quite hard to see, but I can see some buds coming out down here, so I should think about there was where it was in the ground previously. Okay, that should do nicely. Now I'm just going to place the Loganberry in the hole. And backfill it with the earth I've just taken out. One of the things about planting bare root plants this time of year, which is November, which is the sort of towards the early end of the dormant season, is that it gives them plenty of time to get themselves settled in. So as soon as they're ready to grow in the spring, they're already in position and settled. The roots are settled in with the earth nicely surrounding them, ready to start to grow. Okay, but we'll just firm that in. And then we'll have a bit of a think about what to do with all these canes. There are a couple of varieties of Loganberries that are around commercially these days. I think the one that's closest to the original is called LY59. It's quite a vigorous plant, but also, like blackberries, it has thorny stems. This is different to that. This is LY654, very romantic name, and this is said to be a thornless variety that's less vigorous and so well suited to smaller gardens, and I'm hoping that that would be the ideal variety for the space here that I described earlier. Oh dear, we seem to have got a slightly damaged point there, but we've got several canes. This is a 2-year-old plant, so the canes here will hopefully bear some fruit next year along this trellis, while the new canes that grow next year will be tied along here. So let's try and tie a few of these in. Right, well, that's tied them in a bit to give them a sense of the general direction they need to grow in. It might be that when they start to grow in the spring, I'll have to give a bit more thought to where to tie them in and whether to put some extra poles along the side of this frame. For the moment, there's just two more things I want to do. One of them is to give them a good watering in, to give it a good watering in. There's only the one plant, I mean, these are quite large plants, and you wouldn't need more than a couple, I would think, unless you had quite a big garden. And the second thing I want to do is to just put some straw over the area that's not covered by weed suppressant fabric, just to keep the weeds down. Well, that's them in, ready for the winter and hopefully ready to grow in spring. As ever, I hope you found something interesting or useful in this video, and thank you very much for watching.